Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
A major earthquake hits Japan. Trump meets with foreign leaders. America creates thousands of new millionaires and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Iran targeted American forces in the Middle East with ballistic missiles late Tuesday, U.S. Central Command said, raising tensions in the region again after the warring sides had briefly halted hostilities. CENTCOM, in a post on X, said that the attack originated from Iran, but all missiles were intercepted. The post read, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces launched multiple ballistic missiles from Iran in an attempted surprise attack on U.S. forces based in the Middle East. While the U.S. military command did not specify where the attacks were aimed at, Axios reported the attack was directed at a U.S. base in Jordan, citing U.S. officials. In a subsequent statement posted on X, CENTCOM said U.S. and Saudi forces struck multiple terrorist logistics and weapons sites in eastern Iraq Tuesday, retaliating against more than 30 drone attacks in the past 3 days by Iran-aligned terrorists. Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said the strikes were carried out in coordination with U.S. Central Command and added the kingdom does not seek escalation but will respond to any aggression it faces. Additionally, 2 Amazon data centers in Bahrain were damaged in Iranian missile strikes, Bloomberg confirmed via satellite imaging Tuesday. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps took responsibility for the attacks, claiming the centers were targeted on account of Amazon's support for U.S. military operations. A magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck southern Japan Tuesday, with the epicenter about 20 kilometers south of Kumamoto City. Authorities ordered roughly 300,000 people to evacuation centers and deployed hundreds of soldiers. An explosion and collapse at an Aeon shopping mall left about 20 to 30 workers unaccounted for, while a chimney collapse at a paper factory also left people missing. Hospitals treated scores of patients, including some with serious injuries. About 48,000 homes lost electricity, rail and air services were suspended, and roads were damaged. A tsunami warning was issued, which has since been lifted. Officials reported no abnormalities at nuclear facilities. Businesses, including TSMC, Sony, and Fujifilm, evacuated workers, while Tokyo Electron suspended operations at 2 factories. Aftershocks continued after the main quake. President Donald Trump met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House Tuesday as Iranian negotiations continued. The meeting lasted about an hour and was closed to reporters. Trump earlier stated that talks with Iran were progressing while warning that U.S. attacks could resume if an agreement is not reached. Oman separately presented Iran with a Gulf-backed proposal for managing traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. The plan would allow shipping companies to make voluntary payments into a fund supporting navigation, environmental protection, and search and rescue services. Iran would not have sole control of the strait. The waterway carried about 1/5 of global oil and liquefied natural gas before the war. Brent crude settled Tuesday at $84.09 a barrel, down 4.8%. President Trump also met with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy privately at the White House Tuesday and discussed Ukrainian production of Patriot missile interceptors and efforts to revive negotiations with Russia. Zelenskyy also met with Lockheed Martin representatives about defense production. The meetings occurred as the U.S. Senate prepared to consider legislation originally developed by the late Senator Lindsey Graham. The measure would impose sanctions on Russian officials and authorize tariffs of up to 100% on countries that continue major purchases of Russian energy. Trump requested that provisions targeting Iran also be included. Zelenskyy planned to meet with senators as lawmakers considered the legislation, which overwhelmingly passed a key hurdle Tuesday evening before the August recess. The proposed measure also contains provisions targeting sanctions evasion and Russian energy revenue. French authorities ordered nearly 4,000 additional people to evacuate Atlantic coast tourist areas Tuesday as major wildfires continued across France and Spain. Roughly 330,000 people have been displaced from homes and vacation sites in the two countries. A vast fire remained active west of Bordeaux, where crews worked to hold containment lines as higher temperatures returned. Spain was preparing for its fourth heat wave of the summer, while several fires remained uncontrolled, including the largest wildfire in the country's recorded history in Avila province. Some evacuation orders in Spain were lifted as conditions improved in certain areas. France and Spain have deployed thousands of firefighters, aircraft, soldiers, and emergency personnel. About a dozen other countries have supplied aircraft, helicopters, firefighters, or other assistance. A federal appellate panel declined Tuesday to block President Donald Trump's executive order seeking to restrict mail-in voting. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit left in place a May ruling that found an injunction premature before the administration issued formal regulations. The order directs the federal government to create a list of eligible voters and instructs the Postal Service to deliver mail ballots only to people on that list. The administration has begun issuing implementing rules. A separate federal case in Massachusetts has blocked the order for the 2026 elections in 23 states, and a Boston appeals court upheld that injunction. The administration asked the Supreme Court Monday to lift those restrictions. The D.C. Circuit panel noted that nationwide Postal Service changes before the election could be infeasible and could later be halted by courts. President Trump said Monday that the U.S. has collected more than $13 billion from the sale of Venezuelan crude oil since capturing former President Nicolas Maduro in a January military raid. Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One the money is used to run Venezuela and has paid for that war many times over with billions collected. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated to Congress that the oil sales are audited by KPMG on every expenditure, with money held in a Citibank account. The United States added 441,078 new millionaires last year, more than 1,200 every day, according to global wealth data. There are now 23.6 million American millionaires, more than 2 of every 5 worldwide. Global personal wealth rose 10.8% in 2025, and nearly 1 million people worldwide joined the ranks of millionaires. Every one of the 56 markets tracked ended the year with more millionaires than it started. Not every American benefited, as inflation-adjusted median wealth per adult fell between 2020 and 2025 to just under $69,000, ranking the country 28th. The report points to what households own. Those with significant investments captured the market run-up, while families whose wealth sits mostly in a home did not. Johnson & Johnson has proposed an estimated $5.5 billion settlement to resolve about 76,000 lawsuits alleging that its talc products caused ovarian cancer. The agreement requires acceptance by 95% of eligible claimants before it becomes final. The company expects to make about $3 billion in payments in 2027, with additional payments in 2028. The total could exceed $7 billion, depending on participation. Johnson & Johnson denies wrongdoing and maintains that its products were safe and did not contain asbestos. The company stopped selling talc-based baby powder in the United States in 2020 and later shifted globally to a cornstarch-based product. The proposed settlement covers existing ovarian cancer claims and does not prevent future lawsuits. Current claimants would receive payments within 18 months after the agreement takes effect. Ford Motor raised its 2026 earnings forecast Tuesday after beating Wall Street's second quarter earnings expectations, despite reporting a decline in revenue that slightly missed estimates. Ford earned 42 cents per share versus the 35 cents estimated by analysts. The Detroit automaker cited operational improvements, resilient vehicle pricing, and a high sales mix of profitable products for its performance, as well as the improved guidance. That's the Raw Naked Truth for July 29th, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you listen to podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.